Is the Republican plan really just Obamacare light with a few conservative buzzwords? And should the government be responsible for health care in the first place? Let me ask Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst. Welcome back, Judge.
Oh, it's good to be with you. You know what my answer is going to be, because you and I and most people watching us now, watching your show, are of one mind on this. Barack Obama actually succeeded in an insidious way in implanting in the minds of people across the ideological spectrum that somehow, from some source, not the Constitution, the federal government is responsible for providing health care and for managing the health care industry.
Yeah.
That is an abomination, because whenever the government manages anything, it makes it more expensive and less efficient. So that's a serious problem. And the people who need it most are the last ones to get it. Precisely, because by making the product, whatever the government chooses to manage, more expensive, that puts it out of the reach of the poor without a government subsidy, which, as you just articulated, is a wealth transfer, which is also not justified by the Constitution. But perhaps the most insidious theoretical underpinning here, if you'll pardon that phrase, is the idea that somehow health care is a right. Yeah. Now, a right comes from our humanity, from our existence. Okay, your right to think, your right to speak, your right to travel, your right to self-defend, your right to be left alone in the Fourth Amendment. But health care doesn't come from our humanity. Health care is a good, like a gym membership, like food. Okay, but these are things you buy. I want to point that out, because that's a very important differentiation, because there are people, and I put this question out on Twitter, is health care a right? And some people said yes, absolutely, because of the Ninth Amendment, because there are certain rights that are not enumerated in the Constitution, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. The Ninth Amendment, which incorporates the natural law, the idea that our rights come from our humanity, into the Constitution and prohibits the government from disparaging those rights, speaks of negative rights, not positive rights. That's exactly what a negative right is that with which the government cannot interfere. A positive right is a gift, a good that the government gives people, like Bernie Sanders and free education. In his nutty world, the positive right would be the government will give you an education. In Barack Obama's nutty world, a positive right would be the government will give you health coverage. But those aren't rights, those are goods. The government calls them rights. Yes. So we start thinking of them as part of the government's integral responsibilities. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land. How do we know it? It says it. Everybody that works for the Constitution, from a Board of Education janitor to the president and everybody in between, takes an oath to preserve, protect, and defend it. Yeah. Not to try and change it. Not to change it by the popular will. You want to amend it, amend it. But don't claim that there's a right in there that doesn't exist and that Madison would be flipping in his grave if he thought that somehow this document that he wrote now stands for a good that the government has to give away. And those negative rights, you know, this is very important, because my right to pursue certain things that don't affect you, that's a negative right. But it affects you if you have to pay for something that I now consider a federally protected positive right. The First Amendment. I'm just going to give you one example. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. It doesn't say Congress shall create freedom of speech. It says Congress may not interfere with it. It pre-exists Congress. It pre-exists the government. It pre-exists the country. It comes from our humanity. Those are rights. All right. Well, Judge, thank you so much. I mean, I think this is such a crucial, important part of the discussion that has been missing from all of this. And, of course, it is as basic as going back to the Constitution. And all but a few Republicans have dropped the ball on this. Yeah. Rand Paul is all over this. But that same cannot be said for Republican leadership in either house. All right. Very good. We'll keep an eye on them. Thanks to you. You're welcome.